Hello, I'm Andrew the Ox. For those of you who are wondering who's the big awkward ginger speaking to you right now, I've already done one introduction video, but it was incredibly awkward because this is not something I'm used to, talking to a camera screen and having no feedback. Mind you, I am a bit of a talker. I got a gob on me, but basically what I'm wanting to do is talk to people who have issues creating because of their neurodivergence or ADHD like I do. I found certain little hints and things that work for me. Doesn't mean they're going to work for everybody, but if I can help even a few people with their creations and following some of their dreams or passions, then I'm all about that. So I've been playing ttrpgs for a little over 20 years. I started when I was 13, and I immediately fell in love and was obsessed with it. Something about the creating, the uniqueness, just having that freedom to build things that others could enjoy. Um, my very first dungeon master's name was Nelson. He was a great man, and I hold myself to his level of creation at every turn I can. And I never feel I do him justice, but I do try. So basically, what this video is I wanted to give a few tips to those people out there who might have trouble starting on creating what they want. Um, when I was starting the book that I'm working on currently of Dorian, and I couldn't figure out exactly where I wanted to start. I had a few ideas for, the environment that I wanted within the world. I wanted it to feel organic, but at the same time, magical, because that's what it is, right? It's fantasy RPG, so why not? But I had a group that was interested in playing, a couple of new players in it who had never really gotten to play. So I was kind of putting myself in a time limit to get an area ready for what would be a homebrew. And that's what kind of spiraled into this book when I realized that I had caught the fever, and it became this idea. And my supporters, the gods love them, my wife, my kids, my best friends, all of them telling me, hey, speak about what you know, and this is something that you've been doing, so here I am. So, in starting, I wanted to know where my characters would be starting within my world that I was creating for the homebrew. And I came up pretty quick with, for some reason, the name Aquin. And from there, I just could not get this idea of this really lush and full, almost considered overgrown forest of conifers, pine, firs, things like that. And I wanted it to be somewhat unique in the fact of it was so lush, as a matter of fact, that the forest comes right up to the city line. So if you leave the confines of the city, you're in the forest. And eventually came up with the name the Thrush for the forest. Um, but the thing I was still having an issue with is, why were my players there? We've all done, anybody who's played a TTRPG has done the you meet in a pub beginning and gone from there, or, you've all signed up for the same contract, things like this that are kind of atypical for the game, which is all perfectly fine. If everybody's having fun, that's what really matters. But I wanted to have a more fresh feeling, especially for new players who had probably, through their own video watching and things, had heard kind of, the things that have gone on for many years, like you meet in the pub, and where it's kind of become a running joke. Well, the group consists of two plane touched, one of the giant races, and a shifter race. So I was like, okay, they're kind of on the outskirts of what is the norm. So being in this city, which is kind of secluded compared to the other cities within this continent, made sense. And then I got the idea of, let's make it really kind of secluded. So what's a good topographical feature? I liked this idea of this very wide and deep kind of chasm, made it a valley, and that's where the forest lies. And it butts right up to this mountain range that I called the Dragon's Back, because it's a huge freaking mountain range from east to west coast on this continent. And through talking with a friend, he'd come up with an interesting idea that I liked, and I ended up implementing with his permission. He said, well, what would stop them just from going over the mountain? Like, how about you make it a volcanic mountain range? And I liked that, I mean, it's an idea, not to mention volcanic ash after eruptions, for years has created very fertile soil, like around Mount St. Helens. And it made sense to me within the world. So from there, I continued just following the dopamine and the creation and the inspiration within my brain that, well, what if there's standing pools of like hot springs of maybe acid, make it a little more magical and uninhabitable, and pockets of like sulfuric gases, so getting over the mountain range is really a test of somebody's constitution and their survival instincts. And that's basically what I want to talk about is, never limit yourself to working only on one idea. Workshop a bunch at once. You have ADHD, that's fine. It's like a superpower because we can actually concentrate on probably 4 things at once while we're working on one thing. Our brains are still functioning on another level to solve problems for this other thing. So what I do, I work third shift, security work, and I often have some downtime. I keep 3 legal pads with me. One for concrete ideas that I'm done workshopping that I want to implement within the book I'm writing. And then I have a second large notepad, and that's the one I use for ideas that I'm still workshopping, that I want to, read through a couple of times, see if there's anything I want to subtract from it, anything I want to add, anything that might need to be tweaked or changed as far as wording goes, because anybody who's played a ttrpg has met a rules lawyer and they will find any kind of loophole they can. So I also keep a tiny legal pad, and that's for smaller ideas, things that don't require a lot of room, and things that basically I just don't want to forget that, I thought about in the moment while creating something else, came up with this in the back of my head. I'll write that down. After, 4 or 5 pages of that in the smaller notebook, I'll tear them out and I'll staple them together, put them in the sleeve of, my notepad, book, so that way I can go through them later and just kind of organize them according to however my brain's functioning within the moment, and if I've taken my meds, that is. So basically I just want to give the hint to people who might have some trouble creating that always follow where the dopamine and the passion is taking you in your creation and your inspiration, because if you limit yourself to one idea, you're going to bog yourself down and it's going to feel like a slog, like you're walking through a noose, basically, because our brains are not meant to function in that way where we can simply follow one train of thought. We are meant to follow every train of thought, sometimes at the same time. Sometimes we can focus on the one, and the gods save those who can't focus completely on the one, because once an ADHD person hyper focuses, that's getting done, But please always follow that. Don't limit yourself, and just do what you love. All right, and always put it into the game, because your players will know the difference between what is unique to you and what you're just putting in because you think they want. All right, well, you all have a good night, and I'll talk to you later.